Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name's Piera and today I'm here with my mid-year book freakout tag for 2020. The time of year when every booktuber is posting the exact same video within weeks of itself. I know, how original of us. It's an echo chamber, but it's fine. So as always, every year, mid-year book freakout tag created by Chammy and Ellie, who I will link down below, although I think Chammy has privated her video. Rude bitch, but we love her anyway. And so I'm just gonna get straight into my mid-year book freakout tag. Alright, so the first one is the best book you've read so far in 2020. Now I haven't read too many books this year that I was like, wow, blown away, best thing I've ever read, god tier. I have read one and I'm now on the fence about it, and that's for a bunch of different reasons. First of all, the book is 10 Hours of Iron by Sam Sykes, which is the sequel to Seven Blades in Black. It's one of my favorite books, I loved it. 10 Hours of Iron, I loved it even more. I think my last video was literally, this is my favorite book of 2020, which as it stands by itself, it is. That being said, it's no literary masterpiece, but it ticked all the right boxes for me personally. What doesn't tick all the right boxes for me anymore is the allegations that have recently come out about Sam Sykes in regards to his interactions with women in the industry, at cons, etc. I'm not super familiar with it. It came out on Twitter the other day and I've currently sworn off Twitter at the moment for mental health reasons, but I did have a lot of people messaging me being like, yo, have you seen this? And so it was kind of hard to miss. So that being said, difficult thing to navigate. Not really difficult to navigate. I mean, the general consensus is just don't be a fucking creep. Apparently that's difficult for some people. Again, I don't know the full story of it, but obviously listening to the women who are coming forward with their experiences is probably the most important thing at the moment, so doing that. Next up is the best sequel I've read in 2020, and I wasn't going to use the same one twice. And this one I think I literally read on like January 1st, or was finishing it on January 1st, so it just scrapes in and it just counts, and technically I reread it in like May anyway, so it still counts, but it's Bloody Rose by Nicholas Ames. Second book in the Band Saga. Brilliant, mwah, masterpiece, phenomenal, cried like a little bitch. I'm sad to say I think the author has also seen me crying about this. I think it was Dan, it was fucking Dan. Daniel interviewed him like a couple months ago over on his channel and was like, did you see Piéra Forde crying about your book? And I was like, throw me under the bus, cunt, why don't you? Worth it. It truly meant every tear that came out of my face. Bloody Rose, great sequel. This one follows the daughter of one of our main characters from book 1 and her band, and ultimately their quest for glory. This one features a lesbian protagonist. There is a female-female romance. There is the sweetest himbo ever. Well, he's not really a himbo, is he? He's kind of a badass, but he's like, he's a simp. Great characters, great world building, great writing style, really clear voice in this one, which I really adored. I love this series. It's one of my favorite series. This is probably one of my top 5 books of all time. So I highly recommend you pick this one up if you want like a good laugh during your fantasy. Like, you've got your dramatic fantasy going on. Like, don't put it in the same vein as like Name of the Wind or Poppy War or, you know, any of your really hard-hitting fantasies. This one doesn't take itself too seriously. It's like, it's just a good time. It's a feel-good with, obviously, like, I was crying in it, but it is a good it's a really good fantasy series. Next up is a new release you haven't read yet, but you want to. And for this one, I mean, I couldn't really pick one. There's quite a few that I have on my Kindle at the moment, or I have sitting behind me that I haven't gotten to. I've been in and out of slumping at the moment, just creatively in general, whether that's writing, acting, or reading. So there's so many that I want to get to. There's Queen of Coin and Whispers, there's Court of Miracles, there's a few arcs that I've got from NetGalley that I don't think come out even this year at all, but they're still on there. There's like too many to pick. Next up, the most anticipated release for the second half of the year. Now this one, easily, hands down, goes to The Burning God by R.F. Kuang. Like, I am so excited, and literally yesterday I've seen people in the UK getting arcs for it. I am ready to burn cities to get myself a copy of that. I am so excited. I love Rin, I love Kitay, I love this whole world, I love the whole writing style, I love the characters, I love Rebecca as an author that I see on Twitter. I just really love everything about this series. It's phenomenal. Book 1 is the Poppy War, book 2 is the Dragon Republic. The end of book 2 ruined my life and broke my heart, but hopefully we'll address that in book 3. And she's been leaking like little excerpts of passages from the book as well over on Twitter, and we're all just screaming. Fans of the Poppy War are just screaming. So that one I'm most excited for. I'm also excited for The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab, just because I've been seeing it's got a lot of hype. I wasn't initially really interested in it, but seeing people go like, wow, this is a really life-changing book, I was like, alright, I'm interested. So those are probably the main two. The other one was 10 Hours of Iron, but I've read it now, so. Then we've got the biggest disappointment of 2020, This one was pretty easy for me, and so that was The Girl in the Stars by Mark Lawrence. Now, I love Red Sister by Mark Lawrence, one of my favorite books of all time, but you know how much I love Red Sister and I love Nona. So I was really excited for The Girl in the Stars because it is set in the same world as Red Sister. I thought that we might see some characters, I thought we might have literally anything to do with it. We don't, it's just, there's no point. But Girl in the Stars follows another young woman from the Ice Tribes. So it's very much just central to the Ice Tribes and essentially escaping these underworld tunnels. I really tried to like it, but I couldn't. I didn't find anything grabbing about it. I didn't care about the characters. The world was really hard for me to visualize, which I say about Mark Lawrence's writing style in general. I find it really hard to picture literally anything he's writing. The Book of the Ancestor made it easier because it was kind of set in one generic castle, which you could kind of imagine, but this one's mostly set in ice caves, and then there's like the weird crossover that Mark does with sci-fi fantasy, and it just didn't hit for me. And again, this author is another one who has been under fire at the moment on Twitter, mostly from V.E. Schwab. I'm not going to leave any links or anything because if you want to go find it, you can find it. But basically just she hadn't had a very good time with him in regards to a few instances that she has had with him as well. So it's really not a good time to be a male sci-fi fantasy author, and hey, stop being fucking creepy and you'll be fine. How about that? Really disappointed by this one. Not going to pick up the rest of the series. I think that might be it for me for Mark Lawrence. I think The Book of the Ancestor was it, and then it's been a miss ever since. Next up we have The Biggest Surprise, and this one I did it to myself. I let the internet make me hate a series that I actually really enjoyed. I was like, fuck it, you know what? I like this series, so I'm gonna read the new one. And that was House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J. Maas. Now when this was announced, I wasn't interested. I was like, urban fantasy, not my thing, probably just fairy porn. Turns out I love fairy porn, who would have thunk? This was obviously her new and her first adult fantasy. Being an adult fantasy reader, I was like, well, I've gotta fucking check it out. I ate this shit up. I read it twice, man. It was so fucking good. It's all the things you expect from Sarah J. Maas, so at this point, if you're like, any Sarah J. Maas, like, cool, fuck off, we don't need you here. Like I said, I ate this shit up. I liked the characters, I liked the world building, I liked that she made fun of herself and the things that she usually gets called out on. Like, the voice in this was really obvious, and like, there was a lot going on, and it probably didn't need to be this long, and it kind of all wrapped it up in one big dramatic villain monologue at the end. But there were some characters that I got really attached to. I think it handles PTSD and trauma really well, and I'm excited. Also, literally no sex in this book, which, wild, right? We were all expecting Sarah J. Maas to just write a fairy smut book just full of porn. There was no sex. I don't think that's a spoiler. Like, there's a lot of yearning, and there's a lot of almost, and there's a lot of bases covered, but if we were all in it for like the big climax at the end, it was not there. So we're all just kind of like hanging out for the next one. Next up is your new favorite author, new or debut. Now this one is a book that I just found floating around on NetGalley, and I was like, oh yeah, it looks interesting, I'll get it. Didn't know anything about it, didn't know anything about the author, was kind of just like, yeah, whatever. And that's The Wolf of Orenyaro by K.S. Veloso. Now this one is an adult fantasy as well. This one follows a queen whose husband / king has essentially fucked off a couple of years ago and left her to rule this like new city that's kind of forging its new alliances, and it's still in a bit of unrest. And then a couple years later he's like, yo, let's meet up, I'm ready to sort shit out. So she goes, it's a scam, chaos ensues. But I really love this one because our main character, like, she's not your usual young woman with no attachments or no responsibility going on this journey. Like, she's a mother, she's a wife, she's a queen, she has all these responsibilities and burdens she has to shoulder while still going on this journey. She's unapologetic, she's open to change, like when she's kind of, you know, she's grown up as a queen, quite sheltered, and she kind of goes amongst her people, and that's kind of not how she's perceived. It's really interesting how she kind of fixes and changes. The overarching series is literally called The Chronicles of the Bitch Queen, and if that doesn't sign you up, I don't know what the fuck does. Newest fictional crush, and I have two. One is obviously Matthew Fairchild from The Chain of Gold, a disaster bisexual icon. I love him. Bless him. Actually, now that I'm talking about it again, Lucy Herondale, I love her as well. He's just a fucking good time, hey, like he is traumatized, he is broken inside, but he is like trying his best. And if that's not all of us, I don't know what is. And next up, I have a big fat old crush. I believe it's just pronounced Agni. It's short for like Agnesh something. I cannot remember for the life of me, but it's from 10 Hours and Iron by Sam Sykes. Obviously all those characters have like long names and they shorten. She just goes by Agni, and I love her. She reminds me of Volga from Iron Gold. Just this big, muscular woman who could crush you with her thighs, but is pure of heart and just loves to dance and wear dresses and do pretty things and just, bless her. In a world that is burning to shit, she is like your shining beacon. Next you have your newest favorite character, characters, and again, I'm gonna put Agni in there as well. Like, she was just like a breath of fresh air. But the next one is a character that is from a book that is not out yet, but I beta read earlier this year. Essentially, I beta read Empire of the Vampire by J. Kristoff, still in its really early form, so I'm obviously not gonna tell you anything about it. Characters in there that I really love, and it's more the dynamic that I love between them. It's my favorite kind of trope. Jay does it well. It's your grizzled mentor, hopeful little smart arsey apprentice protege type thing. So it wasn't so much the character as it was that trope and that relationship between them. Also because I've just finished playing The Last of Us 2 and it's very Joel and Ellie, and that's just, I dare say I'm not gonna call it daddy issues because it's not a sexual thing, and most people assume daddy issues are a sexual thing. I don't have a father figure. I've never had a father figure in my life. That's fine. I've done really well without it. But if I could have chosen, it would have been Joel Miller from The Last of Us. That's who I would have wanted my dad to be. No, I wouldn't even want him to be my biological dad. I would just want him to be Joel and I was Ellie. That's how fucked up is that? Because he's fucking dope and I love it. So that trope, that grizzled mentor, daddy-daughter trope, which every time I say it sounds fucked up, but you know what I mean. We're adults, we're past this. We're not always past this, but we're mostly past this. Book that made me cry. I mean, I cried a lot for various reasons. You saw me cry through the Shadowhunters Chronicles, you saw me cry through 10 Arrows of Iron, you saw me cry through House of Earth and Blood, you saw me cry through Bloody Rose. There's been a lot. I mean, nothing compares to how hard I cried after finishing The Last of Us 2. I cried for an hour straight. Granted, it was that time of the month and I was just having a rotten day, but I cried for an hour. I cried as I was finishing it, like the cutscenes at the end, and then I just sat on the couch and cried for like a solid 45 minutes about all of it. Not a book, but you know what I mean. The next question is books that made you laugh, which is a lot harder to make me do. That being said, I did laugh in Empire of the Vampire, but nothing made me laugh as hard as 10 Arrows of Iron. By itself, without any author, like that book was so fucking funny. And because I can understand, that's my kind of humor. Like that dry, sarcastic, kind of gross humor, that is very much my humor. And so a lot of the things that were being said, a lot of like like I said in my original vlog for it, Sal's voice is very prominent and very distinct in this book and really kind of finds its feet that it didn't really find in the first book without being like annoying, but in book 2 like you understand why. And you kind of accept, like I said, if it's done well, I don't mind, I accepted it. That book made me laugh so hard, so many times. Next up is the most beautiful book you've bought or received this year. And for me, that was my Illumicray copy of Chain of Gold. This is just a good looking tome. Like the color scheme, the burnt gold and the green, this is my favorite color green. Not that you can tell, but I have a green chair that is literally this color. Inside you've got some character art, and then it's just a good time. It's just really pretty. I like that it doesn't come with a dust jacket, because I fucking hate dust jackets. What books do you need to finish by the end of the year? Shit. I'm trying to read a lot of like the old school adult fantasy, so The Fifth Season I'm looking forward to, Magician by Raymond E. Feist, The Blade Itself. I'm gonna try and read Dread and Time of Blood by John Gwynne, which I just didn't get around to reading when they came out. There's a lot, and then obviously all the new releases that are coming out later this year. So there's a lot that I actually like actively want to get through, but I mean, I don't set TBRs because my reading is so flippant and random. And finally, your favorite book community member. And I mean, I don't spend a lot of time watching videos anymore, just because I fucking don't, like I don't have an excuse. The point is, I woke up this morning and I watched a video by Elliot Brooks. Elliot, who you will probably know, is another adult sci-fi fantasy reader. She made this great video called How to Be a Fantasy Character. And so it's like a little skit, but I just thought it was so fucking funny and like so true. So I'm gonna link that below because it was really good. She's great. I got to work with her late last year. It was really great. She does like this art review, so she's drawing while reviewing, and she was reviewing Nevernight. She got me to do like a little voiceover for Mia, which is really cool. But I just really love the shit that she puts out. Anyway, that was my mid-year book freakout tag. This year hasn't been great for reading. Like I've read, I think I'm like 53 books at this point, but apart from 10 Arrows, none of them have really like god tiered for me. There have been bits from books and characters from books that have god tiered for me, but there's not been anything that I've been like, wow, best thing I've ever read, great god, I love it. So I'm hoping that the end of the year will prove more fruitful. I mean, like you've got The Burning God coming out, you've got Addie LaRue coming out, and a bunch of other things that I'm really excited for. So fingers crossed that the rest of the year is better. 2020 has just been a shit show in general, so I'm not expecting much at all. But as always, thanks for tuning in. I will see you guys next time. Bye.